it wasn't university that helped me to realise I was different. It was actually at school. So.
We use the phrase British born Chinese or BBC. Maybe I leaned into that kind of Britishness too much, or that's all I knew. We grew up in a northern town with about the number of non-white families you could count on one hand.
And when you talked about working at 11, I was thinking, 11? Mum and Dad got me working when I was 6 years old.
Hi, May King. I know you always make it a point saying my name's May King, not just May. I first saw you as part of the live streams from the uh, Atomicon conference when it was all online, wasn't it, during COVID? And it was the first time I've seen like a evidently British-born Chinese person because of the accent, being so confident in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, talking, talking, when, I myself have kind of struggled with this kind of, being seen, being heard, etc., etc. And I was quite taken aback by that. And then you give me a massive shout out, and I thought, wow, how does May King know about me?
Gordon, Fong, good morning, Gordon. Is that mic flag reversed? Yes, it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'm absolutely honoured and floored that you're watching, because I spotted you on Twitter and I followed you and I looked at your stuff and I thought, wow, you are amazing. Oh, well, thanks, Gordon. That really took me back, that. Now, of course, that was sort of during COVID days, where we had to pivot our business very quickly. And so, yeah, I was one of the fortunate ones in that some of my clients pivoted very quickly and then were able to go online with their events. And so, because I was already hired by Andrew and Pete to create FOMO for them, it was just a no-brainer just to sort of take everything online. But I didn't realize that was the first time that you saw this British-born Chinese
Yeah,
laughing around and acknowledging you and other people. And actually, I had to admit, when I first saw you, I thought, "Oh wow, another Chinese person in the room! How cool is that?" Yeah. And with regard to confidence, where's it all gone? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The ebbs and flows of business. I sometimes reflect on that time and think, oh my gosh, where has she gone? Because there's a few things that have happened along the way. But yeah, I never really saw myself as a British-born Chinese in business. Until we had a bit of a chat, and I also collaborated with another person a couple of years later, um, and yeah, and I think I'm sort of stepping into my Chineseness now again. This is like the third wave that I'm sort of stepping into my own and being comfortable with being British and being Chinese as well. And I'm really chuffed to chat to you about it. Really, really chuffed. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I didn't realize that was the first time you saw me, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed our chats ever since. It's been amazing.
I think because of LinkedIn and social media, you kind of see each other and you kind of build that familiarity. And then when you meet each other in person, it's sometimes it feels as if you've known each other for a while. But if it's been one way and not the other person's just, well, who are you? Whilst the other person's probably feels so familiar, so familiar. But I guess going back to that kind of confidence and being British born Chinese, the kind of common theme that we kind of cross paths on is the whole kind of personal branding and how do you show up in business and this authenticity. And I think, I know some people find the word phrase personal branding a bit of an ick, and it can be at times, but I think, to me, how can you and I deal with personal branding when we've kind of struggled with our identity from back in the when we were children, etc., etc. So, one of the things I kind of picked up on when I visited Liverpool, on the docks, there was a little section, a couple of plaques that actually recognised and talked about the Chinese immigration that came in. And my parents came in, and I think a lot of people from Hong Kong came in through Liverpool. My dad worked in Chinese restaurants in Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham before he went to Scotland and then made the way down to Newcastle and finally kind of settled in Sunderland. But he literally went across the Midlands up to Scotland and down. I know other people went to maybe Cornwall, the southwest, and then back up. So yeah, so my family side of things, on my mum's side, this I'll get killed if I get this wrong. Seven sisters and three brothers, and all but one sister remained in Hong Kong. So there's a huge family contingent over in around Newcastle in the northeast, but also in Scotland around Edinburgh and above really. And trying to explain the amount of nephews, cousins, etc., and the extended family that exists in the northeast. Um, I don't think people believe how big that contingent kind of just spawned. And I think there was even an academic paper, maybe it's written within Newcastle University, about this, our clan, as it were, my mother's side, that came to the northeast, and even certain words were probably um, created, like Chinglish or whatever that came from that family. So I think we have a strong history, we have a long history, but at times which I don't feel is recognized. But also, I think partly it's we don't recognize it ourselves. When I say we, I think
No.
maybe some of us who have struggled with it. But I don't know how about your family's kind of migration to the UK?
Yeah, so it's really interesting you went through that potted history because a gazillion things went through my head. So my dad came over to the UK on a boat when he was really young, and his history is I don't want to share all of his history because it's very personal, but we also have a bit of a community in Liverpool as well. Um, he went to Manchester and worked there in the 70s. My mum had an arranged marriage with my dad, and so she was in China. She was born in China, then moved to Hong Kong, and then had the arranged marriage. So she had to come over to Manchester, and she's amazing. Didn't speak a word of English. Did not speak
Mm.
a word of English. Literally had Manchester on a sheet of paper, I think, and somehow managed to meet my dad, which is incredible. So we've got aunties and uncles in Liverpool as well. My dad was adopted, so we also have aunties and uncles from his original family. Yeah, sorry, I don't really want to go into details, but
Yeah,
anyway, we've
yeah,
got some
that's
down south um, as well, and recently, because of the Hong Kong troubles, with the the yellow umbrellas and
mm,
questions of democracy and what have you, um, two of my cousins have moved over as well. So they live in Sheffield. My brother and sister live in Sheffield, and yeah, so there's loads of lots of different cultural differences and similarities with all those different generations and so on. But yeah, my dad very quickly worked in a Chinese restaurant, Kwok Man, in Manchester, Princess Street, and then started his own business, Chinese chippies, with
yeah,
an English contingent, fish and chips and all the rest of it. And yeah, and so it was always my mum and dad's wish to have me, my brother and sister get an English job. And I say English job in bunny ears because they worked really, really hard, faced a lot of racism, lots of drunken
mm,
louts and all the rest of it.
yeah,
You know what it's like, Gordon. And so never wanted us to go into the family business and wanted us to get an English job, get a career. They pushed us through, they didn't have two pennies to rub together, but they pushed us through university. Um, and my brother and sister did really well, and I got a career as well. And my parents, because of the struggles that they faced, they never wanted us to go into business. So when I accidentally went into business after
yeah.
having an IT career, my parents were really, really worried for me. But yeah, I should have listened to them, really, shouldn't I? No, 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 no. I'm actually pleased at where I am now with faffing around in this business place for the last sort of 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. Yeah, 15 years faffing around. But yeah, can't remember your question, Gordon. I just
Yeah,
waffling on
I
like
guess
crazy.
it was about your background, and I think yeah, just add on to what you said. You know, my dad came first, and my mum came afterwards. You know, they've worked in restaurants around around the country, and then they ended up having their well, my dad had a restaurant then into a takeaway, and basically, I don't know if you worked in the takeaway, but I was chopping, doing the eggs and on a frying chips on a weekend from the age
Yes,
of 11, 12, 13 or whatever, getting home. So I'd sometimes do work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then have to go to school. And I was always late for school, turn up 9:30, get berated, and I just whatever. I'm just working hard. But it goes back to
yeah,
yeah, I think they work tremendously hard, and for me, it wasn't until I kind of left home and grew up a lot for me to recognize how hard they bloody worked. Sometimes it was
yeah,
7 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, but twice a day in the afternoon when
yes,
they open, then at night time. And
yes.
yeah, they didn't have two pennies to rub together really.
No,
And it's and but also going back to they wanted us to go to university. I went to university, and it was a strange time at university because I don't know how you felt, but when I went to university, it was that kind of thing where you know I turn up, or the British born Chinese would be there, and then there'd be a contingent of Chinese but from Hong Kong, and for me,
yeah,
again, I don't know if it's a lack of self-awareness or lack of self-confidence or belief, but I just felt it ju we just weren't the same. We were children of, you know, struggling parents, yeah, working in a takeaway, quite manual, quite, by no means demeaning, but it was that kind of, just lower end, low skill
yes,
kind
yep,
of position. But all these Hong
yep,
Kong students coming across, and thing is, they're going to come across if their parents were professionals and had the money to
yes,
send them across. And I just felt
yes,
there was that difference, but maybe it was me. Maybe my mind wasn't open enough, or maybe I didn't reach into the kind of heritage thing because you talk about we use the phrase British born Chinese or BBC, that kind of
yeah,
thing, and maybe I leaned into that kind of Britishness too much. Of that's all I knew.
yeah, yeah,
We grew up in a northern town with about you know the number of non-white families you could count on one hand, and therefore there was
yeah,
nothing else apart from
yeah,
just living that. And then when your parents, I don't know, when your parents are not there at night because they're working and you're just at home,
yeah,
there's not that connection to other families. I think within maybe the South Asian community or the Black community, there is literally communities, and there are people who can congregate and they have that kind of critical mass of identity and people together. Whilst we were just one family, one Chinese, maybe maybe there was another Bangladeshi family in this northern town kind of thing.
yeah,
There was no way to latch onto any identity or culture, and then that disconnect when your parents are working all the hours. It was just a difficult thing, and a lot of things came from that took so long to get rid of until
yeah,
I was midway, maybe it's 15 years into business where the whole personal branding and then representing the business and being authentic kind of came around. And once I delved into it, it's, you know, I, I've learned a lot about myself. I've developed a lot, and but also it's good to acknowledge what you've been through, understand those feelings, and actually it puts you in a position to help others who struggle as well.
yeah, definitely. I'm nodding profusely here, like the what was it, Admiral Insurance dog that
Hmm.
that keeps nodding and saying yes, yes, because I agree with all of what you're saying. Now it wasn't university that helped me to realize I was different. It was actually at school. So there was a Chinese lad who was born in the UK. He did not want to know me because he was brought up in the UK, so he wanted to hang out with the English lads and and not. identify as Chinese. And so much as my parents wanted me to marry a Chinese person, I desperately wanted him to like me. I don't know if I ever told that to him, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me because he wanted to hang out with the English lads. And then there were actually two Chinese people also in this school much later, and they came from China. And so they were very, they wanted to hang out with me, possibly to improve their English, but
Mm.
also potentially wanted to marry me as well. And I didn't want anything to do with them because they're like Chinese, Chinese, not English
Oh man, there's
Chinese.
different levels. There's different
Yeah,
levels.
absolutely different levels. Yeah. And so, because I was facing a lot of racism at school, I wanted to fit in, and be, yeah, and simulate into Western society. So it was a bit of a struggle. And then when you were talking about university, about how there were Hong Kong Chinese, well, my cousins, I was telling you that two of my cousins have moved over now. They moved over about 5 years ago, but my their brother, they actually moved Harry over from Hong Kong to study at university here, because you know what it's like, Gordon, boys count, but girls don't back then. So yeah, my cousin came over and he studied, and yes, very very different. And unfortunately, me, my brother, my sister, who is probably homesick, and we feel a bit guilty. I mean, he's okay with it now, but we teased him a little bit and
Mm.
stuff, like kids do. So yeah, he was very very different. And my auntie and uncle worked very very hard to get him to go to college and uni here, and he did very well. Moved back to Hong Kong and then got a job, working in China or traveling to China quite a bit. So yeah, so this identity crisis that you talked about, we are British, but we're also Chinese, but we're not quite, we're not mainland China Chinese, but we're not
Yeah.
Hong Kong Chinese. We've got our
Yeah, yeah.
own flavor of Chineseness. And um, it's funny because even though I've faffed around in business for 15 years, I've only just realized who I am as a person. So when you talked about personal branding earlier and how you identify with that personal branding within your business, I realized, and it's only taken me until now, 15 years later, that I've been running my business like a Westerner,
All right.
which
Is that a
is
good thing or
really,
bad thing?
really, um, that's a great question. So I think that it's been good in some ways. It's taught me a lot. So, the first time you saw me with that confidence that you said that I was, acknowledging you and acknowledging people, and just yeah, do my thing. That definitely came from the Western side of myself, I think.
Mm.
Um, because I had opportunities very early to potentially become an actor, potentially become a singer, but then my Chineseness
Oh, you've stopped now.
uh, that scuppered those dreams because I had to work in the chippy. I don't know if you remember that Monty Python sketch. With John Cleese and Michael Palin about being Yorkshire and being working class, and you sort of compete with how working
Yeah,
class
yeah,
you are.
yeah.
So when you talked about working at 11, I was thinking, 11? Mum and Dad got me working when I was 6 years old. And we lived upstairs in the chippy, so we had
Right.
to come downstairs and work in the chippy, ever since we were six. We were, sort of cutting mushrooms, peeling prawns,
Oh, yeah.
putting potatoes into the potato machine in order to cut the chips and all the rest of it. And my brother and sister were working in the kitchen, and I had to work out front because I know, Gordon, we've had chats before, and you said you hated working out front,
Yeah,
and
I
I
hated
had
it.
to, yeah.
11 o'clock when the pub's shut, that it was
Oh,
just
It was
hell.
horrible.
It's horrible.
Horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah. And yeah, we lived in a chippy that was well, we lived in several chippies. We moved um around Bolton, Manchester, and Blackburn. And yeah, so we had to deal with the horrible, horrible drunken people. Majority of people were nice, but you get
Yeah,
the odd
yeah,
ones
yeah.
who, get into fights and, take the piss. Oh, sorry, I swore then. Take the mick out of my parents'
Mm,
accent. So it was horrible. It was horrible. But yes, um, now that I've realised that I've been running my business the Western way, I've now understood who I am as a person, which means that I've given myself permission to work the way that I want to work, which is a mixture of Western and Chinese upbringing. And that's okay. I mean, I don't need to
mm,
bang on about it,
mm,
but my parents definitely instilled values of hard work, which they will have done to you as well. Hard work, respectful, loyalty, born in the year of the ox, so I'm stubborn. But I'm very loyal. And when people betray me, in all walks of life and what have you, I try not to take it personally. That's the Western side of my learnings from some of my friends. Um, but I do reflect, I'm starting to reflect more on scenarios and then decide how I'm going to deal with it going forward. And so
mm,
the reflection is definitely um, a Chinese thing, I think.
mm,
Although a lot of my lot of my non-Chinese friends have told me the importance of reflection and journaling and
mm,
really understanding who I am as a person. So um, hopefully that answers your question. So it's actually a real mixture of Western and Chinese upbringing, which I'm starting to adopt only now,
mm.
and it's really freeing. Having acknowledged that, it's incredible.
When you doing your FOMO creation, being in front of the camera and the microphone, that level of energy, did it come naturally? Did you have to like take a take a run up to hit it and then crash afterwards, or because I think Jen, we've met in person as well. I think you have a higher level of energy, but I don't know whether it took time to build or whether actually you just go for it and free yourself, or how natural is because actually. Sorry to jump in there. I see the people, the current younger generation of Chinese, whether British born or otherwise, jumping on social media, and they seem so confident in their kind of one-on-one cameras, but also in the kind of podcast cross conversational scenarios. But I don't know whether you felt it hard, but I felt it so hard to begin with.
Um, I actually got it from my dad. My dad was a really sorry, talk about past tense. Sorry, no, he is.
Hmm,
He has an amazing personality, so outgoing. So I'm definitely like my dad in that respect. And my brother and sister, they're introverts. Um,
hmm,
and so they take after my mum. So they're quite happy to not take the limelight, as it were.
hmm,
And for me, yeah, as I said, I had some opportunities to perform in theatre and singing opportunities when I was really young. So that helped to really form my personality. But my dad was also very outgoing as well. So it was very easy for me. But this is where I love when I saw your Instagram feed, I love the top three posts of yours because personal branding in business does not mean you have to be loud and brash and full of energy like me.
yeah.
Because your posts, the way that you one of your reels, it's amazing where you take the mick out of your name, the way that people have
Oh
called
yeah.
you different names, and you've received letters that don't spell Gordon Fong the right way. It's hilarious and I love it. And one of your other posts as well, where you're introducing people to what who you are and what you do,
Hmm.
it's incredible. I love it. So when it comes to personal branding, you have to be yourself, so if you looked at someone and thought, oh wow, they're so confident, they're so full of energy, oh no, that's not me. Great, you do you, as the young kids say
Yeah.
today. And I think it's brilliant. And I will do a post that's similar to yours, be inspired by yours, because of course, like you say, people get my name wrong all the time. My first name
Yeah.
is May King, but people call me May. They spell it MEA, MAI. They call me Mei Ling. I've had Mary before now, all sorts. So I'm going to do a similar reel to yours, inspired by yours, because I always introduce myself. Hi, my name is Making Tsang.
Yeah.
First name May King, but people
Yeah.
still get it wrong. So yeah, in a nutshell, came to me naturally. I've had to refine it, but because I always want to improve,
Mm.
I do look back at my recordings and my videos, but then I pretend that I'm my best friend and I'm not looking at me. I'm
Yeah.
actually looking at my best friend. And with your best
Mm.
friend, you would give constructive feedback, but in
Mm.
a
Mm.
really loving and supportive way.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. But I love your personality, Gordon. And because of your business, I know that there will be a lot of people in your industry that do not have the courage to be themselves
Yeah.
and have this personal branding, because they feel that they have to be really serious and they want to hide behind their logo. And you can't
Mm.
do that. People want to get
Yeah.
to know you as a person, because the Chinese way of doing business, and also the Western way of finally adopted it, is that people do business with people. And if they
Mm.
like you, they will start a relationship with you. And so if you hide behind your logo, don't have a personal brand, then your business will definitely miss out, because people want to see who you really, really are.
Yeah.
And so, like I say, you don't have to be loud and brash like me. You can be just as funny and
Yeah.
hilarious as Gordon Fong.
Yeah. When I started this kind of process of actually, I need to kind of step forward. I was I kind of got some books about how to be a CEO, and I used to watch Steve Jobs presentations non-stop, and I just got to the stage where actually none of it is me. I'm just trying to fit this model, and it was over time. It's a learning experience, and that's why those kind of videos of me introducing what I do. I kind of cut that in one day. It was so easy once I knew what I needed to do, but I did it in my own voice, my own tone, my own volume, my own pace, as opposed to trying to, be all this kind of presenter. And I think if somebody paid me to do a keynote or to present an awards night or whatever, I think you'd have to step up. You have to change your energy level to be, because they're paying you. You need to, be a different kind of level. If it was the same level that I am normally, yeah, I don't think that would be right. I think that's different. But if you want to record to camera and just share you as a person, then it has to be your kind of your pace, your rhythm, your kind of vibration, let's say. And that can change. I can be louder and louder and be more expressive, and that'll grow over time with confidence. And I think it's when people say, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, you have to break the duck. You have to get that first horrible video out the way, because the next one will be ever so slightly better, and then everything is ever so slightly better. But that's why I don't look back. I know you look back and kind of improve. I don't look back, because I'm the kind of personality that will dwell too much on it. So I just go,
Yeah,
actually, I've done it. I know it's better than the last one. The next
yeah,
one will be even better, and I've learned a few tricks. I've learned a few kind of video techniques or whatever along the way. So I will improve. So I give myself permission not to look back, but to just try again. I think that's more important for me, to do more than to kind of
yeah.
self-critique.
Love that. And like you say, everyone's different. Steve Jobs, great at presentations, horrible man, horrible
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
But so we had to when we learn from people on socials or read blog posts, read books, and what have you, we really need to figure out whether that style that can we amend it to our own personality,
Hmm.
and we will make mistakes, big fan of making mistakes, but we have to refine and be confident in doing that. But yeah, I mean, I teach people about going on video. I will say to people, we do need to you know get into the mindset of hitting that record button and getting into the practice of
Hmm.
doing it. And what I recommend to people is record yourself every day for 5 days. Don't look at them. Okay,
Yeah.
don't look at them and just record for a minute. It doesn't need too long. Talk about something that you're passionate about, and it can be anything, doesn't have to be business. Then watch it on the sixth day, watch those videos in succession, and you're going to hate it because it's about
Hmm.
you, but you'll realize that actually your confidence is really, really great.
Hmm.
And there's times where I've done video and I think, oh, that's rubbish. But as you quite rightly said, Gordon, I was better than yesterday.
Hmm.
We need to stop worrying about what people think. We need to remember why we are in business in the first place. And when we remember why we're in business in the first place, remember our why, then those are the people that we want to reach. We want to make a difference to those communities, to those people. And if you think about that and ignore
Hmm.
any potential criticisms that you may get, because 9 times out of 10, people want to see you win. They're not
Yeah.
going to criticize it. And if they judge you and hate you, well, they're not your target market. Don't worry
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point to stop for now, and then we can move on to our next session, because I think what I want to touch on next is this difference between minority ethnic and this global majority view. And then once you get your head
Oh,
around that, it's like, okay, I feel a lot better. So let's call it a day on this one, and then we'll progress on to the next, whatever this is, podcast or video call. Thanks, mate.
amazing. Thanks, Gordon. We'll
Thank you.
see you next time.